Hey, Team Happy and Fit. Thank you so much for hopping on this week's Best Practice call. I seriously can't even express to you how much I love serving this team, how much I love growing with this team. And also, I was just telling Mariah this, that how much you all teach me, that I'm in this constant state of growth, that you're in this constant state of growth, and together we are a powerhouse. And I just think that all of you have so many wonderful ideas. And honestly, every time I come up with an idea or a best practice, it's not to fit my lifestyle of full-time coaching necessarily. It's really to serve you and your lifestyle, to make it, I don't want to say easier because this business isn't easy, but to make it more efficient for you. Does that make sense? So a lot of times, I was just having this conversation with Mariah, a lot of times you can get flooded with information, and it can be paralyzing and it can be frustrating at times, but just trust me with this. Maybe take one thing from this entire call and implement it for a small win. Does that make sense? Just take one thing from this call, implement it right away, and then you'll feel like you've won. And I do that with the National Wake Up Call. There's so many great ideas, but sometimes I can just get so lost and stuck because I don't think that there's just one way, but I can take one idea and rock that idea. Does that make sense? So come to this call, take one thing, crush it, and just know I upload it all to YouTube, so you can just come back, listen open-heartedly, take an idea that fits your business, right? If you are a mom and you just don't have a lot of time, if you are a part-time hustler, whatever it is, but also just know that this business is for anybody in any lifestyle. And so what we seek to do is just really help you rock it wherever you are currently in your business. And just know, many people have built an amazing businesses at all different levels and things. Lindsay Matway, she talks about how she was bankrupt when she started. Melanie Mitro was talking about how she was frustrated she wasn't in a house, and she didn't want to go back to work. And she envisioned her family going to Disney World, and she thought that this business could do that for her, and it more than has done that for her. And so it's just kind of cool to hear people's stories. Amy Silverman had just been in rehab, and these are all top coaches that have completely transformed their finances, have transformed their life. And I just don't think that success plays favorites. Any coach that you hear will say that. This coach is very simple. It's based on 4 vital behaviors. That's all it is. But then what we're going to do is we're going to give you strategies on how to implement those 4 vital behaviors so you can hit and crush your goals. So anywhere where you're starting as a coach, I think it's really important to know why you're here and what you want. I think it's perfectly valid to say that you want less stress in your life. I think it's perfectly valid to say you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes we have this guilt. I don't know if it's like a Christian guilt or a family guilt, whatever it is, that's wrong. It's not. And so I think it's important that I breathe belief into you about that, and that you connect with this team to remind yourself of that, if that makes sense. 2 things. I was in Southern California, and I got to see Sarah Freed. It was super crazy cool. She took her family to Disneyland. Eric lives 4 miles from Disneyland, and we were there for his brother's bachelor party, my future sister-in-law's bachelorette party, and Sarah and I met up for dinner with our family, and it just was so great because we've been best friends for 4 years because of this business. We would not know each other if it weren't for this business, and we have been all over the country together, even out of the country together, for non-Beachbody events and for Beachbody events, which I think is really cool and really important to take note of. Anyway, I was sitting in the car with my sister-in-law, Kristen, which is Eric's sister, and she was telling me about a podcast that she had been listening to, because she was telling me the story about how she was getting a lot of jealousy in her heart. Have any of you experienced jealousy? I am naturally a jealous person. And so she was talking to me about it, how she was feeling jealous towards this girl, and she heard this thing on this podcast, which I'm going to share with you, and she ended up confronting this girl and saying, hey, I know this isn't a reality, but I need to tell you that I'm struggling with some jealousy towards you. And I want to clear the air. I just want to tell you that that's how I've been feeling. And the girl's like, I've never had a woman approach me and tell me that and be so honest about that. I respect that. And so I was like, Kristen, what was it? And she said this, you will want to write this down if you struggle with jealousy. She said that envy, what happens in your heart with envy is that you feel like you're losing something. So when you're feeling envious towards something, it feels like you're at a loss or you're losing someone or something. Does that make sense? So maybe with you, you're feeling envious of someone hitting a certain Success Club number because you feel like you're losing, like you're not able to keep up. Does that make sense? I'm trying to relate it to business. I think we can really relate it to life. But I think that this business can create a lot of envy, jealousy, and comparison, honestly. And I think it takes a group like this to put ourselves in a gut check stage and to really course correct with that. Does that make sense? So the other thing she was talking about was jealousy. Jealousy is the feeling of you're lacking something. So envy is losing someone, something, and jealousy is lacking something. Have any of you have ever felt these two feelings? And she said they're not real. There are perception that creates that, and it's not true. And I was like, dang, I needed to hear that. And it was kind of cool to hear the two differences of envy and jealousy. I have felt both and I didn't realize it and I didn't quite understand what that was meaning. But I was like, man, have you guys ever felt like you were losing someone or something? And for her, in her case, I guess it wasn't jealousy. She felt like she was losing her good friend because her other good friend was hanging out with this friend more. Does that make sense? And not hanging out with her. Sounds silly, but we've all been there, you guys. We've all been there in some way. And she was like, man, I was feeling like I was losing my friend, which wasn't true. And so she was able to confront it and deal with it, which I thought was really good. And then jealousy, lacking something that you're less than. And I need to tell you this, in this business, you are better than no one and no one is better than you. In this business, no one is better than you and you are better than no one. It is vital that we are not focused on getting bigger. It is vital that you are not focused on having the most likes on social media. It is vital that you are not just only chasing to be the top this or that for recognition. It is vital because it can start to really mess with your confidence and it can really start to mess with the way you work your business. I see a lot of coaches that all they're after and hungry for is just being the top whatever, the most followers, the most this, like that, whatever. And what I'm about to share with you tonight is something that I heard by Rachel Hollis that really helped me put me in a gut check stage. So I'm really excited to deliver to you tonight on 7 strategies that will help you with social media. And so again, this is going to help your business improve. So you'll want to take notes for sure. And what I can do is I can actually send you the podcast that I listened to with this. And maybe some of you heard it. Great. We'll talk about it. So here are a couple side notes before we get into the content is please, when you're approaching and seeing a problem, that you create a solution. If you are seeing a problem, you're creating a solution. If you see a problem in your challenge group, it's not engaged enough, it's not what we want, then create a solution instead of complain about it. If you are frustrated with your fitness, instead of complain about it, find a solution with it. If you are freaking out about organization in your business, instead of complaining about it and talking about it, make a solution with it. Does that make sense? So we're going to be solution-oriented as a team, solution-oriented as we move forward. One of my mentors, Edie Martwick, who is not a coach, who just actually offered me a job as a dean in Milwaukee, and I laughed and I said, Edie, she's like, you always have a job when you come back. And I said, I appreciate you so much. And she's so cool and she's taught me a lot. And she always, every time I worked with her as a teacher, she never wanted to hear what we had to say unless we had a solution. And it wasn't a negative thing where she was like, oh, this is your problem in the classroom. What's your solution with it? And she would help us create other better solutions, but she wouldn't listen to us unless we had a solution. A lot of times I have coaches who say, you do too many calls. Okay, sweet, what's your solution? Or I'm just making up stuff, but you like this or that, or I don't like the way that this is ran. Okay, what's your solution? You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I'm trying the best that I can. And maybe some of you are dealing with that very thing. We need to be solution oriented. Promote what you are about. When you are on social media, it is vital that you promote what you are about. I'm not saying promoting Shakeology. Yes, you love Shakeology, but that's not what you should be promoting. You should be promoting a healthy lifestyle, right? And just make sure that you're promoting what you're truly about. I was talking to Laura, and if you guys have never read Girl Code, I think that's going to be totally her jam in her book. The Girl Code, can't think of the author. She made champagne, and if you know Laura, she loves champagne. Like, I'm not saying she's drinking champagne every day. Like, it's not like one of those things, but she like genuinely just really likes it. And I told her, I said, don't hide from that. I think that needs to be a part of your brand and a part of you as a coach. I'm not promoting alcohol. I'm not saying, hey, let's sell alcohol. Let's do this. I don't think that changes lives. That's not what I'm saying, you guys. But her tribe is going to have a blast hanging out, sipping on some champagne. Like, that's just what it's going to be, right? Like, my idea of a party is going to Tony's Pizza up in SF and demolishing a pizza, right? Like, that's just like what I promote. Like, I love pizza. You know what I'm saying? So we can't hide certain things in our lives because we are afraid of what others are going to think. The more authentic you can be in your journey with the things that you love, promote it, and you are going to really find your avatar. Be an expert at building a tribe. Be an expert at building a tribe, not necessarily a platform. It's not about your content necessarily, but it's about how you make your tribe feel with your content. Does that make sense? So maybe you are too laser focused on trying to build all this brand and post on social media and all this stuff, and you're not really thinking about how you're building a tribe. The way you are going to be successful and the way that you want to go is you need to know how to build a tribe. Rachel Hollis says, I didn't start off as a social media guru. I was just an expert at building a tribe. I think I'm really good at building a tribe and a team. I think I'm good at leading a team, right? I'm good at that. I don't think that that is something that I have to just be good at. I just embraced it. Does that make sense? So be an expert at building a tribe. Use social media as a vehicle. A lot of people are going to, and this necessarily isn't for you who is on this call, but I bet this is for a coach that you have, that they say that they don't like social media or they don't know how to use social media. Well, guess what? It's the vehicle to wherever you want to go. And when you were 15 years old, you didn't know how to drive a car and you had to learn, and it was the vehicle to get you places, right? It was the vehicle that got you to wherever you needed to go. And social media is going to be the vehicle that gets you to wherever you want to go. Isn't that good? That was Rachel Hollis. I was like, dang, social media is your vehicle to whatever your vision is, to whatever your why is, to wherever you want to go. You need to speak to your audience in an organic way. And we'll talk more about that, but you guys, it's vital. You might be like, yep, Julianne, I hear you. I got you. Like, that's, yep, I guarantee that you're struggling with this and you don't even realize it. And again, don't be focused on getting big. Oh, maybe if I post this, it'll go viral. Like, you're trying to think about what will go viral, right? You're trying to think about what would be the good post. So you're so fixated on how you can blow up a post versus how you can create a tribe. You grow by one person at a time. And so every time you're looking at your vehicle of social media, you're thinking about that one person that you can influence. You are an influencer that can transform and change a life. And that is who you're going to focus on. And then when you change that life, they're going to be lifers. And then when you can change another life, they become a lifer. Then you have 2 lifers. Then it goes to 3. Then you start organically building up your tribe because you are responding to everyone who's commenting on all your posts. You're being really intentional with reaching out to connecting with people who are part of your tribe. Does that make sense? Let's get ready to rock and roll. So these are the 7 solid social media strategies that are going to transform your business. So Rachel Hollis is Girl Wash Your Face. I love her. I love following her on Instagram. I think she's so funny, She's so real. She's got it going on. She started her journey about 6 years ago blogging for fun as a mom. She was a food blogger. And what happened is she started building an organic tribe that freaking had her back. So then what started happening is people started reaching out to her, wanting to brand her and help her. And they were like, hey, we'll pay you $200 if you use our eggs in one of your recipes. And she's like, oh, heck yeah, I'll use your eggs, right? And then it started to grow like that. And then now places like Walmart and Target, they're all using her and paying her and using her content because she organically built her brand. So how I'm going to teach you this is I just wrote down the notes of what she was saying, and we can talk more about it, but I would love for you to blow up the chat as you're going through this. I would love for you to take notes, and I just want you to know that we don't all start off knowing it all. And so we have to be in this constant state of growth. So why I think you need these 7 solid social media strategies is I think most of you are going to know all of them, but I think it's 1, a good refresher, but 2, it's going to help improve wherever you want to go and however you want to do this. So maybe you're feeling a little bit stuck. I think that this is going to help you feel unstuck. I think if you have it going on and everything, you feel like you have gotten your organic reach, you do feel like you're connecting to your tribe, maybe this is a solid strategy to go help your team with. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like Pastor Andy, that's my pastor. He's like, this message isn't for the person next to you, it's the message for you, because you're always thinking like, so-and-so needs this, so-and-so needs this. He's like, no, you need it, right? So don't think about who else needs it. Think about how you can implement it in your business right now. Maybe you implement it to your PS coaches. Maybe you do implement it in your own business, but I promise you're going to be able to use this. So 7 solid social media strategies. Number 1 is welcome everyone, but market to a specific someone. Welcome everyone, but market to a specific someone. So here's an example. If you were to go to my Instagram, you would see a change. The change is this. It doesn't say coach on it. I don't disagree with putting that on there. I talk about coaching all the time. I don't care about that. But I was realizing I was welcoming everyone. I don't want to welcome everyone. I mean, I do want to welcome everyone, but I want to market to someone. Does that make sense? So here is what my example is. How I'm marketing to someone is teaching teachers self-care. Who am I marketing to? I'm marketing to teachers, right? But guess what? Guess who comes to me? Everyone. They're not just teachers. So my audience aren't just teachers, it's anyone and everyone, but who I specifically speak to are the couch dwellers who are overworked, burnt out, underpaid, who are addicted to Cheez-Its and beer, who are most likely teachers, right? They hate fitness. That is who I market to. So I'm not trying to help everyone and do all this stuff in the sense of marketing to them. And how I'm talking about that is, are your posts being super generic? Like, crushed my 80-day workout today, yay. How is that marketing to someone specific? You need to make sure that if your workout is for the person who just has no confidence, who body bashes, who is a busy working professional who feels like they don't have time, maybe you're marketing to a specific someone who just had a baby and is feeling all of the different emotional roller coasters it has of having a baby, right? That's super specific. You're marketing to that person. But as you're posting, you'll welcome anyone to your tribe, of course. Anyone can follow you. Anyone who comments below on your stuff, you'll respond back. But your content, the way that you are presenting yourself, you are speaking to a specific someone. Who is that specific someone? My specific someone is a teacher who is a boxer mom who is married, right? Like, you guys, it's me. I'm talking to me. And I'm not just talking to the old me. I'm talking about to the old me who is ready for change. That is a huge thing you need to write down. I'm not talking to the old me. I'm talking to the old me who is ready for change. I'm not talking to the girl who would go to the store and buy all unhealthy things and say she'd start on Monday. That's not who I'm talking to. I'll talk about how she was like that until this happened, right? I'll share that story, but I talk about how I was ready for change because I was tired of that. I'm never just going to talk to the old person. I'm talking to the old person who is ready for change. Tip number 2, go deep versus wide. And she talked about how you need to grow one person at a time. A lot of times people are just like trying so hard like to reach everyone, and they're all over the place and they're doing all these things. And I think about Trina Gray, who typically signs up 2 to 5 coaches a month, but those coaches end up turning into 30 plus coaches each. She just told me that today, that 8 of her new coaches have already hit, 8 of her new coaches, 4 of them have already hit Success Club, maybe 3. And so she goes deep with her new coaches instead of trying to do the masses. Does that make sense? She even says this, she spoon feeds her new coaches. She will go so deep with her new coaches. Even though it does feel like hand-holding with the new coaches, she's setting them up for success because they go deep, 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 and then deeper. Does that make sense? Are you guys with me? You're here, you're taking notes, you're ready to go. Awesome. Give me some feedback in the comments. I would love to hear it. Tip number 3, build a community and add value to lives. Build a community and add value to lives. What does this community look like? What kind of community do you want to have? I think about this, build a community and add value to lives. I think about a challenge group. You guys, this is not an effective way to run a challenge group, is check in once a day because you've scheduled all your posts and then you're in and out in 5 minutes. If you want to add true value by transforming lives, is that you are lighting people's hair on fire in your groups. That you are in there and you are sharing your heart and you are sharing your story and you are creating this community that is transforming. I have been there. I have relied way too much on posting and scheduling and leaving, right? But my current Busy Woman Bootcamp, I'm in the trenches. And if you can't physically see it in the group, I've emailed all of my people, I text them, I'm constantly chatting with my challengers because I am building a freaking awesome community. And I'm adding value to them. Does that make sense? And you can do this on social media too. Y'all need to really think about this. How are you adding value on your social media? When you go look at your social media, is someone is their life transforming based on what you're posting? Or are you just posting to post? Number 3 is build a community and add value to lives. Number 4, give as much as you ask. Give as much as you ask. The example of this would be Jab, Jab, Right Hook. Jab, Jab, Right Hook is a book by Gary Vee. Jab, 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 Right Hook means this. You are giving content, you're giving recipes, you're giving inspiration, you're giving tips, you're giving anything in free value, right? You're just giving someone something. And so that could be a free group. That could be prizes. That could be like anything, like just like fun giveaways, right? So you're giving, giving, giving. You're giving content. You're giving your heart. You're giving tips and strategies and all these things. And then your right hook is, hey, comment below for more. Your right hook is message me for more details. Your right hook is, hey, send me your email and I'll send you an email, more information. Your right hook is, here, sign up on this Google form. Your right hook is that call to action. That right hook is that they need to take an action to invest. Does that make sense? But you have to understand, for every 3 pieces of value that you give, something that you give, you need to make sure you're doing a right hook. You need to make sure that you are asking, but you can't just be asking all the time. You need to make sure that you're giving. I have to have this gut check for me as well, where I'm like, oh my gosh, am I giving quality content? Am I just giving inspiration? So I'm really good at giving inspiration, but I need to give practical advice as well. I need to give recipes as well. I need to give other things than just inspiration. Inspiration is the easiest thing for me to give, but I need to give other value. So maybe something that you can give is like a free jump start to a 7-day clean eating thing, right? Like some kind of guide that will help them, that is free, that you created, that you are giving away, if that makes sense. So that's just all that I was thinking about. So give as much as you ask. And number 5 is this. You need to make sure that you're doing a call to action, and that's that right hook. I think a lot of you are doing a great job of showing up, posting on social media, giving, running free groups, but you're not doing the right hook. The right hook is so vital to your business moving forward. So that call to action needs to be very clear. That call to action needs to be very clear because people need direction. Here is an example. Rachel is a coach that just signed up today. I hope she's on right now. Rachel, if you are, hi. I know you couldn't make it, but maybe I sent you the link, so I'm hoping you got on. Either way, hopefully you catch the recording. Anyway, I've been asking Rachel to coach. She's doing an 80-day obsession, and she said, no, not yet until I get results. And I said, Rachel, people are going to start asking you about what you're doing, and you'll want to be a coach by then. And she's like, no, not yet. So then I checked in with her the next week and said, how's it going? She said, Julianne, people are starting to ask me what I'm doing. I think I need to coach. And I said, I agree with you. A week passed and I said, hey, Rachel, how is your day going? And I said, I can't wait for you to get started. Are you ready? And she said, yep, I'm going to do it this week sometime. Absolutely. It was a crazy week. This is what I did to her. This was the call to action. This was the clear direction that I gave. Does this make sense? This is what I said. Awesome. All you need to do is sign in to teambeachbody.com. Click on Become a Coach. Pay the $39.95. Then fill out this form as soon as you're done for a reimbursement. And then guess what? Did it. Right then and there, even though she told me she was going to do it on Friday. I gave her clear directions on what to do. Every time that I'm sending out an email, every time that I'm reaching out to someone, I'm not just like casually saying and awkwardly saying, hey, you should do this. I'm not like that. Hey, Mariah, it's been super great chatting. Thanks for following my story. Hey, sister, I would really love to get you involved and get you more information on my upcoming group about fitness, confidence, and nutrition. All you have to do is send me your email. So then Mariah sends me her email. To be clear, and people need direction, then I say this, hey, Mariah, I'm about to send you an email. Get back to me as soon as you can. I can't wait to help you, right? So then what I do is I send Mariah an email. Then I'm like, Mariah, I sent you your email. Let me know your questions. I'm so excited for you. Clear and a lot of direction. Not in a sense like a lot and too much information, but just in the right amount. Does that make sense? So now Mariah knows to get that email. Anytime someone gets a canned response from me, and then they say, sweet, I want the medium package, okay? This is what I do to be clear and with the direction. I said, awesome, I'm about to send you an email with your package. All you have to do is sign up as soon as you get it, right? And so then I send it, I'll send them another email and be like, it should be sent, or a message, you should have gotten it. And they're like, awesome, got it. And then they sign up. How many of you have people just hanging out with links? They're somewhere. They said they would do it. I challenge you to look at how clear you are with your directions with them. It might be a little tweak. Is it like that for everybody? No, it's not. I still have people all up in the air. Does that make sense? But sometimes it just takes that little tweak of being clear with your directions. And with those call to actions, you guys, these can look like they're on your post. Today, one of mine was, I know you're scared. This is going to change your life because what you're doing isn't working. You need to join my group. That's all my call to action was. It wasn't like this post, comment below, like all whatever. If you go to my Instagram stories, I'll say swipe up, like, hey, you need to get in this, like message me, fill out this. Like I'm constantly telling people what to do. You guys, people need to be told how to think sometimes, because guess what? They are making decisions all day long. And sometimes they just want people to tell them what to do. You are the expert. You know what to do. Here's another example. We have so many things to offer. We have so many amazing products. That can be overwhelming. So what I do is I make a suggestion. Hey, this is what I think you should get started with, and this is why. I think you should get started with a performance line and Shakeology and BOD, and this is why. Like, I give that direction to them, and then they're like, you're the expert, let's go, let's do this, right? That's exactly how I talk to people, is with that clear direction. But then I also have call to actions all the time in my posts, because realistically, 4% of people see your posts, you guys. 4% of people. So it's not that they're getting bombarded and they're annoyed with you. They just aren't seeing it. They're just not seeing your call to action. So you need to tell people what to do. Rachel talked about this. She said it takes 17 times for someone to see something for them to do it. 17 times. So if you are not talking about a group every single day, you have to think about, if you're talking about it every other day, how long it is going to take for someone to actually join you. But if you were to talk about it every day for 17 days, you would get someone to join you. Does that make sense? 17 times. I was like, whoa, it is the 13th. Have you talked about your group 13 times or less? So you're still not at the 17 mark yet. So you know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to make sure that you're talking about it every single day. And then number 6, you've heard this before, is content is king. It is so vital that you serve your brand and you serve your audience. And she said, I would rather you not ever post if you are misinterpreting your brand. I would rather you not even post anything if you are misinterpreting your brand. I think of it like this. Someone's so motivating and they're so great, and then they're like, today sucked, it was the worst, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, whoa, like, that is like missed messaging to your brand. Do you know what I'm saying? Is your brand the someone who always looks at the bright side of things? Like, is your brand about being a positive community? And then you need to know your brand. And honestly, like, it's so hard because we're branded with Beachbody, but Beachbody isn't your brand. Does that make sense? Beachbody is your tool in your tool belt. You are your own brand. You are your own brand. And who are you? That is your brand. So for you, like for me, it would look really weird if I was always put together and always in like glamour shots and wearing matching socks all the time. Like, my community gets freaked out when I wear matching socks. Like, seriously, they're like, what's going on? Like, that's not you. That is how detailed my brand is, you guys. It sounds nothing like crazy, right? But my community and my tribe, they get me. I'm so branded in that way. Like, I can say weird things, do things. Do you want to know one of my top videos were? On Instagram, not necessarily the video that it posted, but through my videos, how many messages I got of that one video that I thought was a picture that I recorded myself of. If you guys saw it, I posted on social media too. And how many of my tribe were like, that is so funny. My whole day has been made. That is me too. Where I literally embarrassed myself, but it's something that I would do. But it's my brand. It's like who I am. And my community and my tribe connected with me on a whole nother level because I shared an embarrassing video of myself. I had so many DMs after that one. It was awesome. And I was just like, that's so crazy. Like, it was just literally like, ugh, dang it. And I thought about deleting it, but I was like, but this is me. Like, this is wholeheartedly me, and I can't hide that. Does that make sense? All the time, I get DMs about Eric and Wyatt and how silly and funny we are and all stuff, because that's really us, and I share it. Does that make sense? My brand, right? Like, who I am is what I'm about, and I serve my brand and I serve my audience. It would be weird if all of a sudden I got on live videos and started cussing on every single one. That's not me. If it's you, do you, girl. Like, do you. I'm not saying that that's bad. It's just not my brand. Does that make sense? So it would be weird if I started showing up in that other way. Does that make sense? So what's really vital about content is king, especially if you're a leader and you have the downline. You might have this down. Clearly, if you've built the business that you have, you're on your way to doing that. But this is vital as a leader that you take this to your team and you teach them how to brand themselves. You teach them avatar. You really get up inside their heads of like, who are you? What do you represent? And how do you feel? All these things, like how do you want to serve your people? And that is how you lead. Does that make sense? So these calls, you guys, aren't just for your own personal growth. These calls are to help your PS coaches grow. How can you serve them? If this is the one thing you take away is content is king, how can you serve your team to help them brand themselves in a way that sticks? I love when Teresa talked on that elite call where she said, when everyone zigs, I zag. And she said, so when everyone's doing this, I make sure I'm doing my own thing and sticking out. Does that make sense? Content is king. Content is king. And we can dig more into that later, or if you have questions about that, we'd love to answer them. And then number 7 is this. Different social media platforms, they're all very different, and you need to really know your brand in order to figure out which one it is. I know that I talk about Instagram all the time, and I really feel like that's the way everything's moving in this world of direct selling. But at the end of the day, you need to know which one is right for you. You need to know which one is right for you in your community. If it's Pinterest, if it's Twitter, if it's LinkedIn, whatever it is, if it's Facebook, there's nothing wrong with that. Does that make sense? You just need to do what's best for you, and you need to make sure that you're serving your community and your brand in the best way possible. And I think it can be conflicting and hard when there are so many choices. And so I don't think having so many choices and trying to be everywhere all at once I don't think that's the right way to go. I think picking that one that you could seriously be your authentic self, where you can serve your brand, is the best way to be. It's almost like lesser is more, if that makes sense. For me, I specifically stick to Instagram mainly. I would say 75% of the time, and then Facebook. What I mean by that is the people I'm connecting with and sending out the most messages, because Sarah Morrison will say she built her business by being in her inbox. And so if I'm building my business, my inbox that I use is Instagram. So I'm heavily in my inbox in Instagram and not on Facebook. Does that make sense? I still get messages on Facebook. I still try to message people on Facebook, but the majority of my time and energy is in Instagram. And building connection with community with there. But you also have to understand too that I'm making sure to reach out to my tribe, and my tribe are teachers. So I'm spending the majority of my time interacting with other teachers, and it kind of goes through to that whole like everyone can come, but I'm serving that one person, and so I'm going to make sure that the people I'm connecting with is that one person, is that teacher. If that makes sense. I would love to hear, what was number 6? So number 6 is content is king. I actually made a graphic, and so I'll share that in the team page with you guys after. But I was listening to this podcast, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I just feel like these are really 7 awesome things that I knew, but there was just a few things that really like stuck out to me that helped me. And so again, I think what's really important as a coach, you guys, is never having it all figured out. Being open-minded and really listening to, sometimes you can hear the same thing 50 times, and then it's that 51st time where it clicks. Does that make sense? Mariah and I were laughing about this when Lauren says that she had to fly to Las Vegas to hear about canned responses. She heard about it all the time, and then I presented on it, and she was like, oh my gosh, like I had to fly all the way to Las Vegas to implement this, and it's changing my business. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it just takes you to hear it that millionth time, content is king, to really work on that, if that makes sense. Her saying that is what made me take canned responses seriously too. Yes, exactly. That makes me so happy and makes me laugh at the same time. And that's another thing too, you guys, is that I think there are people who like, for example, like some people will be like, oh, I wish Trainer Gray was my sponsor, and she doesn't do anything different, if that makes sense. Or like, oh, I wish Juliana was my sponsor. Like they're always trying to like go to the next best thing, because they like Melanie Mitro, like, and those people and me and whoever, Morgan and Ryan, whoever, aren't going to be the reason you become successful. The way that you become successful in this business is that you are resourceful and that you just take action, that you're not waiting for anyone to hold your hand. Melanie Mitro today, I was listening to a call and she said, I didn't need anyone to tell me what to do. I just did it. I just figured it out. I didn't need anyone to tell me how to run a challenge group. I just figured it out. And so for you guys, it's like, so my point to that was, Morgan is my PS coach. She's heard about canned responses all the time, and she had to hear it from Lauren in order to do it. Does that make sense? Where it's not necessarily having a certain sponsor is going to make that happen for you. It's a choice, if that makes sense. And we have all been there. Oh my goodness. And I love all of your guys' gut checks. I love how real you are. Especially, it is so vital as a leader to be transparent with struggles, because we don't want any of you guys ever thinking that this is just like a cakewalk. This is just easy, that this is just no big deal. No, it's like we fail a lot, and we're just going to help you try to not like make so many 100 mistakes that we've made. That's like my goal and mission for all of you, is like, maybe if I just share how hard it was for me to get here, then not that it'll be easier for you, but that I can help you course correct quicker, if that makes sense. Be the coach you want in your downline. Heck to the freaking yes. And it kind of goes to this too, you guys. Are you demonstrating characteristics that you do not want in a coach? Are you demonstrating characteristics that you do not want in a coach? That was something that I like had a gut check with myself, where I was like, oh no, I would not want this in a coach. So I need to figure out myself right now. If that makes sense. What are your questions or comments? Does anyone want to add anything? Even if you didn't listen to this podcast, I know some of you have already known these tips, and maybe something's really working for you. I would love for you to share, open up your heart. You can unmute. Take it away.
Hey, Julianne. So I think an important action step from this is to look at what you wrote down and then do the 3 scroll rule on your Instagram or your Facebook, and make sure that you're picking like your top 2 or 3 things you feel like will impact your business most. So don't just take in what you've heard and then not move forward with it. Make sure you take in and implement right away, and then write down what strategies you need to continue to grow in each time. These were some great foundational reminders that sometimes the more you post, you just lose sight of. So make sure to let you reel that back in and then make a plan to move forward.
Do you have an idea of what you're going to do after this Zoom? I know you haven't had much time to think about it, but do you kind of have an idea for yourself that you could give a tangible, specific idea to everyone on this Zoom?
Absolutely. I think that sometimes the consistency of hitting Success Club, you start talking to the masses and trying to attain that goal that way versus talking specifically to your avatar, which we talk about so much, but it's so easy to get distracted and not make sure you're keeping that focus real narrow. So for me, I need to start looking at my posts again and then talking to my new avatar, which is taking some adjustment of getting used to the 30-week pregnant mama who's still trying to work out or not. I thought of a couple posts after this, like I need to talk more about you should not wait till after pregnancy to get your body back. You should be building that strength during pregnancy, where right now I'm just like, oh, you should be healthy. Join me. Like, look at me going through this, and like, you can do it too. I need to talk to those pain points of someone that's going through struggles in pregnancy with body image. So that was probably my biggest aha moment, was stop talking to everybody and narrow your focus on what exactly you're going through.
Exactly. You guys, that is so huge. Kim Meyer actually gave me oh, my hair just like went all over my face. Kim Meyer gave me an idea on Monday, and I don't even know if she knew that or not, but she just said, I need to interact with my tribe more. And what she meant by that is doing more prompts off of her posts. So here's an example of prompts that I did the other day was, did you do a first look or no on your wedding day? And it was so cool to see everyone's answers and interactions. But the only reason I got that idea was, well, one, Kim said that she wanted to do more interaction posts. And I was like, I'm going to try this. This is good. I used to do this too. Was my brother-in-law is getting married in 2 weeks, and Casey, my sister-in-law, was talking about that they're not doing a first look, and she was asking what we did. They weren't together at the time when we got married, and so we were just like reminiscing about that. And so I did a prompt like that, and it was cool to connect with people on my social media platform with that question and just connect with them more. And Rachel Hollis says it is so important that you take the time to respond back to everybody, even if there's a weird answer. She said when there's a weird answer, just still take the time to respond back and work through that. But it is so vital that you are continuing to serve. What did she call it? She said that you're not just, it's withdraw and deposits, that you're making sure that there's that balance of withdrawal and then deposits, and taking care of your community by responding back. So I love that, Morgan. I just think that that's so specific. And I think coaches are super afraid to get super narrow. And they're so afraid that they're gonna not have people because they get so narrow. But what's gonna happen, you guys, is that your businesses are gonna blow up in a good way. Like, it's gonna get really good because you're gonna get really excited about your content. You're gonna get really excited about the connections you're gonna make, and you're gonna find so much joy. And Rachel Hollis was talking about, it doesn't matter if you have 500 followers, you could have the most loyal following with 500 followers versus 1 million. She says it doesn't matter on the quantity. It matters on the quality. If you can build a tribe of people that believe so much in you, and she even said this, she said, not every person who follows me, this was in the everybody versus the somebody, and she said, not everybody can afford me. And she didn't mean that in a mean way. She just said, not everyone who's following me can afford me. So if you were to total up how much your customer would be, what they would need to pay in a year, how much would that be? So minimum, if you were to do that and your customer would be someone on Shakeology Home Direct, that would be $1,100 minimum that your ideal customer challenger would need to afford with you. Does that make sense? And I just thought that was interesting. And she said, not everybody would be able to afford me, but I'm over serving them on my social media anyway. That they're getting so many free things from me that when I can narrow into my niche, the person who is loyal and my tribe can afford me, but I'm not excluding anyone because I'm constantly serving them with the jab, jab, jabs. Does that make sense? So I know that's kind of a hard thinking with being a business owner, but at the end of the day, you're a business owner. And so it's very vital that you're not just being a volunteer only based business, you guys. I'm hoping that if you're on this call that you do see some financial freedom in your future. I'm hoping that if you're on this call that you're really starting to look at money as not a bad thing. I'm really hoping if you're on this call that you're starting to realize that this business can be that golden ticket for you. I know if you have a limited mindset on money, I know if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that can be really hard to believe that someone like you could do this. But I am here to tell you that you can. And that is why you jump on these calls, is so that you're reminded that you are indeed worth it, that you indeed can do this. Like, you have to breathe belief into your doubts. Like, those doubts are going to try to overcome you, that wanting money is selfish, that you shouldn't want to do that, that you should serve everybody. You guys, this is a business. And I have this obligation. I have this thing on my shoulders, and it is your whys. I believe full-heartedly in my whole heart that you can do anything because of this business. There is a coach on our team who had an amazing job, who loved it, and got laid off out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. And she is so thankful that she has this business. We don't plan for things like that. I don't think that this has to be plan A for your finances. I don't think that this is for leaving your job. Ask Morgan, ask Mariah, ask some of these coaches on here that don't intend on necessarily doing that. And that's not what I'm trying to preach. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to tell you is that this can lift such a burden off of your shoulders and give you more security than you could even begin to imagine. And what it starts with is you believing, one, that you can do it, but then truly understanding who is it that you are, who are you, and who do you want to serve? What are your insecurities? What are your struggles? I talk about, my sister-in-law, Casey, said this. She said, Julianne, I read a post about how you were a jealous person when you started dating Eric. And the things that you said, I had a conversation with Michael about it, and it seriously helped our relationship. And I was like, you read that? Like, I had no idea. She's not a challenger. She's not doing anything, but I totally was able to serve her in a different way. Does that make sense? But it's so crazy how well I knew myself. I talked about my insecurities. I talked about my struggles. I talked about these things and served people without even realizing it. What you're doing is so beautiful, but in order to move anywhere, you need to know who you are, who you were, and where you're going. And you need to serve your community and serve them hard. But then you also need to make sure that you're not just doing it for free. I think all of the content you put out there is changing lives. I think everything, how many of you have ever gotten a message saying that you're inspiring? Or someone just saying like, you go girl, that is so cool. You are serving your community. But you also have a business. Don't stop serving, overserve. That's like one of my mottos, overserve and expect nothing in return. Don't serve just to get something back. That's not what I believe. I believe if you overserve, it tends to happen that you get something back, but that's not why I serve. But then when you overserve like that, you need to also make sure that you're like, man, I know that I have the tools that are going to help them. I know that this team is going to transform. Don't you guys feel like you can do it? Like being a part of this where you're like, I am having a hard time believing in myself, but I have a team that believes in me and that's enough. That was me. Like, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. But then I had people breathing belief into me and I was like, well, okay. And I'm just going to do it. And it took helping one person at a time. It took one foot in front of the other. And it was inch by inch by inch that you can get there, right? And that's why this team is so vital. So you are serving, and that is awesome. But if you have this limitation that you wanting financial freedom is you're feeling guilty about it, or that someone like you shouldn't want that, or like people are putting you down for that, no. No, no, no. I don't think that you need to live like that. I really do believe this is the golden ticket. Do I think it's the only way? No. I don't think that you have to do this full time. But I think that it is going to lift significant stress off of your chest. And that is why I serve so hard for all of you. I constantly think about you. Morgan, thank you for sharing that takeaway. Anyone else? We probably have time for 2 more either comments or takeaways or something you're going to implement, a question that you want clarification on. I'm totally here for you.
I have a question.
Yes.
I had a family friend message me and ask me what my plan is to do with all my extra money that I'm making. I didn't really know how to answer it besides literally just being honest and being like, hey, I'm putting it towards my savings, but like it made me question it. Like, is that their issue? Is it my issue? I don't really know.
What were their intentions with this?
I don't know. They never messaged me back.
I just think that this is a perception, so this could totally not be right. But one, I don't think that that's their business.
That's what I thought.
Yep. Too. And I don't feel like I ever have to answer anyone.
Yeah.
And so for you, like, I think that's a bigger part of this community, because maybe I'm just taking a shot out of the dark, and I think a lot of people would relate to this. It could be a couple of things. You might be a people pleaser, or you might really hate confrontation. Like, is that true? I'm just like, so for me, I'm not a people pleaser, and I love confrontation. Like, I don't know, I just really like it. I think it grows relationships and it's healthy. But my thing is this: if it wasn't easy for you to answer back, it's probably not a thing you should answer. So it's kind of like this. I don't know if I was telling Mariah this, where if you're having trouble wanting to apologize to someone, that's a sign you should apologize to them. But if it is way too easy for you to apologize to someone, you need to question that a little bit. Like, I think we need to always apologize and things like that. But like, you get what I'm saying? Where, in your relationships where you're literally like, I don't want to, like, then you probably should. But then if you're feeling the opposite with it, you should ask that. So if you were literally like uncomfortable and like, I don't like this, you need to listen to that like maybe you shouldn't, if that makes sense. And so typically, you guys, like, people are going to throw their opinions at you, and it's not because they care about you. I know that's harsh, but like, people are going to throw their opinions. Or like, I remember people were like, oh, like with Beachbody, like, do you at least get a free car? And I just remember being like, that's not my main objective with this. But like, or like, people are like, are you really going to drink Shakeology for the rest of your life? And I was just like, I don't, like, are you wanting to hear a certain answer? Like, do you just want me to not fail? And so for Maddie, you do you, girl. And for anyone who's questioning your integrity, questioning your business, you don't have to answer to anyone. And how I would respond to that at another time is, one, be like, hey, like, I'm just curious on why that's a big deal to you. I'm just curious on why, like, that's something that you want to talk about. And then if they're like, oh, I'm worried about you. People project their worry onto you because of their own insecurities. You have three people in your life. You have the naysayers, haters, and then you have what's the other one? I can't even remember. So the naysayers are the people who love you, who are close in your life, that are so worried about you. That's typically a mother, a father, a family member, a spouse. They literally are just like, I just don't want you to fail. And they love you so hard. Don't listen to them, but still love them. Does that make sense? And then you have the haters. Those people hate you. There's no love there. The naysayers, they love you. Haters, they don't love you. And then there's another one, but yourself. Your self-doubt. Those are the three things, you guys. The naysayers, they love you. They're in your life. They're not going anywhere. They're going to stay in your life. Just don't let them make decisions for you in this business. Does that make sense? Because they're so worried about you failing, and they just don't want you to fail. It's their own insecurities. The haters, they're just out to destroy. Don't listen to them. And then there's your self-doubt. So Maddie, you have to decide, is that person a naysayer? Do they actually love you? They're projecting their insecurities onto you. Don't listen to them. If they're a hater, delete. And then if it's self-doubt, you know what I'm saying? All right, I'm going to hit end on the recording.